My name is Whitney Emmanuel. I am an officer by profession, police officer. I also happen to be a qualified teacher and an author as well.
And what motivated you to write the book, Dev?
Well, I would say there are two things. I was motivated for the content of the book, and I was motivated for actually having a book itself.
This episode was recorded on riverside.fm. Log on today to start your own podcasting journey. Hello, Whitney. How are you doing, man?
Hello, Quinn. How you doing, man? I'm good.
I'm fantastic. Good to hear you. Fantastic that you're on with me. For my audience,
Yes.
just tell my audience a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, my name is Whitney Emmanuel. I am an officer by profession, police officer. I also happen to be a qualified teacher and an author as well.
Got you. Now, you said you're a police officer and an author. First of all, tell us, what are your author of? What is your book about?
Well, my latest book, published in 2000 March 8th of last year.
Mhm.
That's A Journey of Life, Aspiring for Success. The book basically tells my story, from, I would say, from my life as a construction worker for the
Okay,
better part of 10 years until I became a police officer and furthered my education.
got you. So interesting. So just give us some insight into that. How did that even come to be?
Well, I'm a graduate of the Ira Simmons Secondary School. I
Okay,
say a graduate, but it's surprising that I actually did not attend the formal graduation at my after sitting my CXCs.
right.
Um, I actually attained just one CXC. Actually, it's surprising to most people, especially to their expectations. That I own, but it was lucky that I succeeded with mathematics. I just sufficed a grade three, and from there, I went on. The academic field requires a certain level of requirements
Yes,
that I was not quite able to meet coming off of secondary school. But I went on to spearhead a life of hard labor, construction work, but luckily for me, I was under the wings of my uncles. Most of them are contractors by profession, and I was able to spend quite some time within the field of construction until
mm,
I got the opportunity to join the policing service.
got you, got you. That's very interesting. So then, what motivated you to write the book, Dev?
Well, I would say there are two things. I was motivated for the content of the book, and I was motivated for actually having a book itself.
Okay,
Um, yes, for the content of the book, I would say it really has to do with my story. It started really as something autobiographical and combined with poetry. There was a time that I was interested in writing some poetry. I began to build a collection, say about 5 to 6 poems. But I wasn't really. I never thought of something grand as a book, but at least I used to gather, my little inspiration. I used to take it down on Google Docs, etc., and share it at times on social media and so on. But it was in 2017, November 17, 2017, actually the same day that I got enlisted in within the police force, that my brother published his first book. It's actually a book of poetry, so you might say it runs in the family. So
okay,
the book is right here. It's by Darwin Emmanuel. It's called Under Umbrella Mountain: Stories and Reflections in Poetry. And he actually sent a copy to each of us, the family. And that is really what set me off to thinking that I could actually have a book, that to capture my writing in that form. So that was really one of my largest inspirations in having a book, to say the least.
got you. All right. So I see that your brother inspired your process, and he really inspired you to embark on this journey. Now,
Yes.
from a little research I did, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you from Ancillary?
Yes, I am. I
Okay,
grew up in the village of Ancillary and then later moved on to the hillside.
got you.
They call
So,
Old Tabor Hill.
all right. So then, what influence from your upbringing in Ancillary really inspired you in this book, or just been in your life's journey in general, but in this book in particular? Yeah.
Well, I would say for a journey of life, as the title itself suggests, it has to do really. I would say it's more embedded in my school life, my educational life, especially coming off of secondary school. What I found is that there are a lot of parallels I see between my experience and the experience of other young people that I observe in the community. Coming off of special secondary school, what they go to call high school in other demographics. It's a case where those who do not come out, fully successful or meeting the requirements at that particular time are not able to go ahead and further their studies, move on to higher institutions like Sarfa Lewis Community College and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that really sort of could be a setback. But what I observe is that there's also a need for to not to see that as like the end of the road. I feel like a lot of the youth sort of judge their capabilities based on the outcomes from secondary school, especially to do with their CXCs, where if they failed prior, they believe that okay, well I'm done with school, that's it, I didn't make it. But
Mm-hmm.
my story was one of perseverance, one of receipting exams that were failed, and one of patience in enduring until that I was able to get the requirements that I needed so that I could move ahead in life.
Very interesting. So I'm guessing that all of that came together into a good narrative in the book.
Yes, indeed.
Got you. So can you explain? And I've heard this concept before, but what is the concept of reasonable process? The reasonable process, and why is it central to the work that you do?
Yes, well, the concept of the reasonable process, I think it forms the second of the two major themes that I explore in the book. Well, it first begins with my story and also the stories of others, interesting figures like Henry Ford, Albert Einstein, and so on.
Hmm.
But the reasonable process, as the term suggests, it really began in my undergraduate studies. I had to survey, not had to, but I chose to survey the cohort that I studied with at the time, just to find out what level of motivation that they experience and from the beginning of their journey and how it would continue throughout the journey until the end. For some reason, I became interested in knowing what a process is really made of. And what I discovered that, well, at least our process sort of had four major checkpoints. I categorize them as the first being the onset peak. What I discovered from the survey is that is where students, including me, are most excited. We're most naive. That's when we think, we're just excited to be part of the program and we don't even consider how long it's going to be or the grueling work that it's going to take. But we're
Right.
just excited, to start a process. But as we all know, in the middle is where the tough gets going. I
Hmm.
call it the middle valley. That's where it really takes, grit. It really takes guts to really push through to see yourself through to the end. And but lo and behold, if you do hold on, although it's up an area where you find the most dropout rates, etc., for different reasons, financially, etc., work wise, because people have families, they have responsibilities while they're going to school, so sometimes that can be a form of a hassle.
Hmm.
So you get to that point where you almost get to the finishing line, but it's not quite there. I call it the culmination threshold. So you
Okay.
basically on the threshold, meaning that you're just on the heels of the end, but you're not quite there. It's not the case where you want to relax too much because you're not quite there. Imagine a runner, so a marathon runner. I'm sure you've seen a case like that before, where they're doing well all throughout the race, and at the final lap they find themselves in the lead, and they sort of just relax and believe, well, they're all done and it's okay.
Yes.
And those who put in the determination on the back end, that they really push past and they win, you
Hmm.
know, they can take over. So it's a case where you have to stay, keep your head down until you see the process through. But so until you actually arrive at what I call the arrival peak, which is basically that final dash, and you've made it, you've taken yourself through the process. But what makes the process reasonable, I would say, is three factors. It has to be something valuable. If you're pursuing a degree, that's going to help you, in your future, whether it's in the job market or in terms of your current position at work, etc. It must be time bound. A lot of us, like, we have that idea of, someday, I want to be this, someday I want to be that, someday. But at some point in life, you sort of have to define the boundaries of someday. It
Hmm.
has to start somewhere and it has to end somewhere. So, because there's not only one process that you take part in, you take part in several processes over your lifetime. So there must be a time bound period in which you can define that process. So the last one would be leverage. That is where you can use whatever you achieve at the end of that period. You can use it to better yourself, because it is valuable. If you invest in something, you have a savings plan, you get an education, all of these you can leverage for your own benefit and for the benefit of your family and others.
Got you. Got you. So it's basically life, but narrative based, a narrative based version of life. Basically
Yes.
going throughout life, um, but giving it some of those interesting titles. All right.
Yes.
So we're due
Yes.
for a break. We'll go to break, and we'll be right back with our guests after this. You spend months planning for the perfect event. You have great guests, you have great speakers, and the event is a success. But in 24 hours, it's gone. But what if it doesn't have to be? Introducing Event Voices by Game Changers. We shoot a live podcast episode at your event, turning your speakers into content. We blend our production quality with your event. Your speakers plus our production quality and distribution equals more leads for everybody. For more information on how you can transform your event into something game-changing, contact us via the information on the screen. All right, so we're back with Whitney Emmanuel. Whitney, you last spoke to us about the reasonable process, which you said is an interesting part of the work and central to what you do. But you also spoke about poetry before that. Um, what role does poetry play in your writing style and storytelling, and why poetry?
Yes. I would say poetry is where I began.
Okay.
My writing journey really began with poetry. There's once I read this little book. It said, if you want to be a writer, just write. So I sort of just tried my hand at it, and it was in the form of poetry. I would find inspiration even at work, perhaps on my lunch breaks, being near the seaside, just gazing at the ocean, and just having that sense of wonder, that sense of awe at nature and stuff. And that sort of inspired me to capture it in poetry. I think poetry is that natural gift that people have, but it's also something that you discover when you actually make attempt
Mhm.
to do it. As the book said, if you want to be a writer, just write. So it came to me in poetry, and later it developed into more, I would say.
Got you. So poetry was your start, and you evolved from there, right?
Yes, yes.
Go- Got you. So okay. So then, how do you attach being a police officer to an author? I mean, I'm sure some of your experiences as an officer will have shaped your writing process, as you said. So, can you tell me
Yes.
some of your experiences that might have shaped the way you write?
Well, what I say, I mean, when I write, when you write as a writer, you might you might allude to general things. Might have general theories, general advice, general pieces of advice that you give. and stuff. But it's only when you get to the actual situation, when you get to the situation on the ground, and I believe that's what just the policing service and the public service in general affords workers to get that experience with the community on the ground. That's when you begin to notice the real issues, the specific context, circumstances, and the nuances that exist between from situation to situation. You might have a general idea of the advice that is right for a person, like for example, don't drop out of school, stay in school. But as I mentioned in the book, there are certain circumstances that can very well cause a young person to drop out of school. For example, if let's say you graduate from secondary school and you do pass your CXCs and stuff. If your family sort of contains dependents, probably your parents are newly dependent on you, or your siblings, you have siblings younger than you are, you have a choice to make. Do you go on for further education? Because all of these things fall in the context of finance. So do you go on for further education, or do you stay out of school for a while and work? And a lot of young people, they make the decision probably just to take the year off. But it turns out, life happens, and it turns out that it becomes more than a year. Sometimes because of circumstances, they get into life a bit earlier, than expected, and the whole trajectory of their life could swing from there to circumstances not really to due to their own fault, as it would be. So it being in the public service really helps you to interact with the community on a daily basis, especially as a police officer, you would imagine. So you can really put into context your own ideas as to how young people should live and should be self-determined in their lives and so on.
Got you. Got you. All right. So we're going to our second break and we'll be back with more Whitney Emmanuel after that.
Creating videos can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Let me show you how Veed makes it easy in just 3 steps. Step 1. Upload your video to Veed's platform. It's as simple as drag and drop, no tech skills needed. Step 2. Edit your video with powerful tools. Add text, music, and effects to make it pop. Step 3. Export your masterpiece in seconds. Share it with the world and watch your creativity shine. Want to try it out? Use code VEED20 for a discount. Stop stressing and start creating with Veed today.
All right, Whitney. So that was really interesting. Now I know that your faith drives you forward as well. So speak about that as well.
Yes. So I would say, well, my faith has it has a big chunk in my creativity. I would say my
Mm-hmm.
poetry, my songs, because I also sing gospel songs. I sing at church, and also write gospel music. Well, the gospel music is really a direct spin-off of my spiritual life, I would say. I Whenever I
Mm-hmm.
feel under inspiration, I would have a little melody in my head, and sometimes it would turn into a song. Perhaps I would just get a chorus at the time, and then I would develop it, probably add a verse to it, and slowly it would develop into something, and it would start to sound like a real song. But my first gospel song, I would say, it happened sometime way back while still working in construction. I actually took a sort of a detour from construction work to work with to work in air conditioning services. Um, there was one day where the work was over and it was approaching like the evening time. It was already dark, and I sat down on the outside of the hotel, and I just looked up. I could look up at the sky and I could just see all the stars, and though there was not a cloud in the sky, there was just stars. And I just had some form of inspiration, and um the song just hit me. It went something like this, like, lying beneath the cloudless sky, I had a dream that I was flying to a place beyond the stars, blooming flowers never dying. So it was something like that, and it turned out to be a song that I call Heaven Songs. So so that I intended that for to be the title of my album because I planned to release the album, but I ended up recording one song called Heavenward, and it came out well. I did it with my cousin Naomi, and yes, so I'm yet to publish that song, yet to make it go live, but that was the beginnings of a gospel album and my gospel writing career basically.
Got you, got you. So when can we expect that to go live,
Yes,
Whitney?
hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. You know, there are so many things sometimes get us sidetracked. But I remember the story when you interviewed Cassell Paul, where he explained
Yes.
that you know he was a very avid artist drawing and so on, and there was one point where he took like a great gap, a great break from doing that, and it was only when a friend handed him some utensils that as a gift that he ended up
Yeah.
really catching back on to the to the art. And it goes to show, there's one thing that people say that consistency is never stopping, but I believe that consistency is starting after you've stopped. I believe we always do things with starts and stops. For example, if you're writing a book, you may decide to write a chapter or a single point, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to stop. You're not gonna continue through the night and through the morning. You stop. What being consistent means the next morning or the next day after, the next week, you can get up and still decide, okay, let me start to do that again. So it's you stop and you keep on starting again. So it's just stops and starts. That's what makes consistency. So hopefully that I could get back on track with that.
Got you. Absolutely, bro. And we hope that you do, and I look forward to seeing more from you in
Yes.
that regard. All right. So where can people get your book? Let's put it this way.
Well, right now all my books, I have 5 books published so far. I have some of them here with me. Well, that's a
Mm-hmm.
journey of life. It's right here. I have two books of poetry, Echoes of Victory and Creator's Marvels, and there are
Mm-hmm.
two collection of quotes, inspirational quotes. And you can find all of this on Amazon. Right now with the SEO, you'll not find the books if you just put in the title. I'm not that
All right.
popular yet. So if you put in my name, my full name, Whitney Emmanuel, then you will see my books listed under my name. You can also on my Instagram page, that's at Emmanuel Whitney. You can find my link tree in my description, and you also get all my. It's a better way, a faster way to get all of my books.
Got you. And then when you started these books, what were some of the challenges that you faced in the early stages?
Well, I would say the first thing was like how to actually get a book printed. For me, having the first collection of poetry and the little introduction with like autobiographical introduction, I sort of decided to compile that into my first book. And but at the time, I was
Mm-hmm.
not aware of Amazon KDP. At the time, I don't even think it was actually KDP. It was, I think, something like Create Space at the time. I think that's what my brother had used.
Right.
So I searched for some platform that I could actually get a book constructed. What I found it was an app called Blurb, where it allows you. It's almost like a
Mm-hmm.
Canva for bookmaking. So yes,
Ah,
so it
really?
allows you to sort of paste in your words, put in your pictures if you have any illustrations, and it actually to virtually you
Mm-hmm.
can actually flip the pages and stuff, and you really hands on in constructing your book. So it was a nice experience in interacting with that platform, and I was actually able to order an offers copy. It's I was not able to post my book for sale there, but I was able to order an offers copy, and I have it right there with me. It's the first ever book I wrote. It's Creators Marvels. Okay, it's by Whitney Manuel. So that's the first ever book I wrote, and from there, Amazon KDP came to light, and then I was able basically just to follow the steps on there, and it sort of guides you. The last thing you have to do, well, what my brother introduced me to a platform called Fiverr. It's sort of
Mm-mm.
like a freelancing platform where they do
Yes.
everything concerning information work. If you want a CV, a job letter, it could be from trivial things to things that are very impactful. You can get whatever you want once it has to do with information work, and it could be handled in terms of soft copy. So I was able to get my just to send even for editing services, and I was able to get my books in a book format. It's a special format. It has the right dimensions and so on. So it's sort of like a PDF. You could imagine it like a PDF that looks like a book, and you right. So you
Right.
upload that to the Amazon KDP platform. Just follow the steps. You'll know what to do once you get on there, and you upload the cover, whether you have your own cover or they provide you with a little service where you can actually get a cover made quickly if you want to. And it goes for a review, and soon after a few days, then your book basically goes live.
Got you. Got you. So then, what is next for you, bro?
Yes, well, that's a good question. Well, I have big dreams. I would say
Mm-hmm.
lately I've been looking into the public speaking space. Although I've not actually gotten in well, apart from church, of course. They say many great things happen start in church. So I've been looking to get myself onto platforms. I'm aspiring as far as the TED Talks platform. I think the reasonable process could be a good feature there. Even my method of writing, that I call the say point method. Throughout my reading and experience with books, what I've discovered, especially for nonfiction books, is that they follow a certain pattern. They are like free universal things that you find in a nonfiction book. They're like storytelling, advising, and yielding evidence. So when you have these three, I swear you could look through any nonfiction book and you will not find anything written that's not, apart from graphics and so on, you won't find anything that's not either a story, the author giving you a piece of advice, or yielding some evidence to support that advice. So I was able to, develop that method, and to yes, to basically that's really the story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we expect again more from you, and we will take the link to your books and put it right down in the comments. Well, not in the comments,
Yes.
in the
Mhm.
description under this video, so that our audience can get direct access to them. Anyhow, Whitney, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It was a privilege to have you on. It was a privilege to have a conversation with you. I trust that you would continue to go forward with God's guidance and that you will continue to succeed. Thank you so
Yes,
much for
Stuart, it
coming
was
on,
a
bro.
pleasure to be on your podcast. I do appreciate. We'll catch up soon. Yes.
Not a problem.
Yes.
Not a problem. All right, everybody. So this has been yet another episode of the Game Changers podcast. The Game Changers Hub is really loaded. We have so many big things coming. Guys, remember to check out our website, our new website, a new up and running website. It is a website that you must check out because we have everything there. You can listen to our podcast there, you can buy our merchandise there, and you can connect with us on other projects going forward. Anyhow, thank you for coming on. Thank you, as my audience, for listening. And as usual, stay hungry, and I'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.